Okay. Yeah, good morning, everybody. Sorry to interrupt all the networking here. We're going to make a start. Apologies. Great to hear such a buzz in the room. Great to be back in person again. So welcome along to this Investment Area 2.3. Oh, there we go. That's come up loud. 2.3 workshop for the PEACEPLUS Programme. I'm normally told to talk too quiet, so therefore that's maybe why it's bounced so loud. Welcome along this morning. Thank you for coming. Some of you from quite a distance and left quite early, and we really appreciate that. Very quickly, in terms of housekeeping, there's no planned fire alarms or emergencies, but if there is, emergency exit is just there in the far left-hand corner, or the way we came in as well, and the restrooms, if you don't know where they are, they're just out and to the right-hand side when you go out through the main doors there. And there will be lunch served at the end of the session, but you don't get that unless you ask some really good questions of the panel here that we have today. So some quick introductions as to who's here and to run through the programme for today very quickly. We have with us here Ian McKenna from the Department for Further and Higher Education, Research, Innovation and Science. He's still working on shortening that title, so he is, but it works fairly well. Then we have Graeme Wilkinson from the Department for the Economy here in Northern Ireland. And at the end there we have Miriam Fearon, who is from SEUPB and is going to be your lead in terms of connecting around the concept notes. Some of you will be looking going, that was meant to be you, Mark. Sorry, I'm Mark Huddleston, but for better or for worse, the SEUPB thought it would be good to give me the PEACEPLUS Programme to look after from last week. And I'm stepping back from 2.3, which I'm going to miss desperately. I'm not sure Ian and Graeme are going to miss me as desperately as they are in terms of the engagement around the call document, but Miriam's going to take that over and you're more in capable hands with her. So very quickly, I'm just going to give you a run through of how we got here today, what the PEACEPLUS Programme is about, and just give you a general overview. Ian and Graeme are going to set the scene in terms of the policy context for the two jurisdictions in the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland around skills. Moving fast in both areas, it's fair to say. There's some developments. We've just had the OECD report published for the Republic of Ireland, and Graeme is working at a pace in developing the Skills Council and some of the activity in Northern Ireland. So there's a lot happening in both jurisdictions. It'll be useful just to get that context. And then Miriam is going to kindly take us through the detail of the process from today forward, and we're looking for some exciting collaborations on a cross-border basis with some really interesting partners. I know that a lot of you in the room are very interested in developing those partnerships, so it'll be really exciting to see what comes forward there. So before we go any further, how did we get here? Where did PEACEPLUS come from? I'm sure most of you are aware of the programme and what's happened to date. We've had a number of Peace and Interreg programmes. Interreg is now going through the closure process. PEACEPLUS takes everything, pulls it together into a single activity, supported by the Northern Ireland Executive, the governments of Ireland, the United Kingdom and the European Union. And without their support, none of this would have been possible over the last number of years. And I think it's fair to say that the impact on peace and reconciliation hasn't fully been understood, and you can only do that as you look back on both the capital and the different support programmes that have ran throughout the last number of years. Obviously there's iconic projects such as the one in the picture there. Yep, it is the right picture of the Peace Bridge in Derry, Londonderry, and many other activities. Certainly one of the ones that excites me at the moment is the Creative Centre up in the old Bushmills Courthouse on the north coast there, and what we're doing with digital and creative skills there as well. In terms of the PEACEPLUS Programme itself, how we got to shape the programme, and you'll see the 6 themes shortly there, but how we got to get there was through a range of activities, but the key part was our stakeholder engagement, our public consultation, with a range of public events that supported the programme and bilaterals between the North-South administrations around different activities. And those bilaterals continue as we continue to shape the call documents and finalise the call documents that you'll be responding to in due course. And we hope very soon to roll those call documents out. There is a letter somewhere in the ether between London and Brussels that we thought was going by pigeon. It's now apparently going by snail or some other very slow mode of transport. But it's somewhere, I'm guessing, knowing some of the UK officials, that they're maybe just deciding wording or something. There's something probably going on there, but we're getting there. We'll be there very soon. So PEACEPLUS itself, that's why we're here today. That's what the interest is. The programme area is well known. It's the 6 counties, or the 11 council areas here in Northern Ireland, and the 6 border counties. We've seen a huge amount of success in that partnership and in that activity. The funding is 1.14 billion euros, which is a fantastic sum of money, but as Graeme has reminded us, if we look at 2.3 in particular, when you start to split that down into the sections and over the period of time, we really do need to have impact, because it's not a huge sum of money. And that sounds terribly unthankful, but when you start to split it down, those programs will suck up some program money very quickly, and particularly in Northern Ireland with the budgetary situations as well. The one that's even more important, we get the right delivery outcomes. Participation from outside the programme area is welcome. We want to make sure that those that are participating from outside the programme area are going to bring a significant impact. I know certainly in the engagement I had done before Miriam came on board with some of the universities in the south that sit outside the programme area and others, there is a real interest and a real value to be had. And again, that can go as far as our partners in Scotland, who have also shown some interest there as well. The focus is trying to merge these 2 key issues, and I suppose in some ways in the past Interreg has maybe looked at prosperity, and the peace programmes have looked at peace. What we're trying to do is underpin them, and I think there's nothing better than skills to underpin the 2 activities and bring them together. A strong skills pipeline and good work will certainly help us ensure that peace and prosperity can be sustained across the programme area. What have we got in terms of the different themes? You can see them there. Theme 1, peaceful and thriving communities, probably one of the best known sort of areas that we've worked in over the number of years in the peace programmes. Theme 2, as you'll see, has a very strong Interreg theme in terms of SME development and transition and innovation challenge fund. Both those concept note areas have just closed, and hopefully some in the room have maybe taken part in that activity and are delivering there. 2.3 that we're here to talk about today, and then 2.4 smart towns and villages. A fantastic opportunity there with 170 million euros of funding attached to that. Theme 3, empowering investing in our young people, never more important. Always been a key area to support, and one that we're very excited about. Healthy and inclusive communities, supporting a sustainable future, and building and embedding partnership and collaboration. And there will be some very interesting opportunities that can potentially mirror into Theme 2, and particularly 2.3, coming out of Theme 6 as well. We're very excited to be driving this. This is going to see the funding come 80% ERDF contribution and 20% matched by the partner, accountable departments and others. So it's 100% funded in terms of the support for yourselves, but just to give you the detail in terms of the breakdown, that's a split there between the 2 areas in terms of how the investment's supported. Project life cycle is identical across all the programmes and across every theme within those. Everything will look at the exact same. So we're in that pre-development phase here for 2.3 right now. As you can see there, elaboration of project idea, concept note, partner search. Hopefully today I'll maybe accelerate the partner search for many of you in the room, and you'll be able to find partners. I know already there's some exciting partnerships beginning to develop in the work that I'd done prior to Miriam taking over around 2.3, and hopefully, I'm sure Miriam's experience will help accelerate those and probably make them better, and hopefully you'll make yourself known to Miriam before you leave today. Once the call goes out, then we're moving into project development and application. Then we get into the real start of it, contracting and startup, program implementation, and then as where we are in most of the Interreg and peace projects now from Peace 4, we're in project closure phase at the moment there around that. Timeline, for this is subject to that letter I alluded to earlier, but we had our first PMC just 2 weeks ago in the Crumlin Road Jail, and essentially launched the iteration of how things could start, and had various things agreed at PMC, and we'll be then moving forward, hopefully at significant pace once we get this letter, and the calls will start to go live as quickly as possible. And we haven't had any word this morning. I'm looking at Karen, nothing yet, no. So we're still waiting for that approval there. But as soon as that comes, there'll be certain programs rolled out very, very quickly in terms of getting calls launched. Just very quickly before I hand over to Ian here, in terms of 2.3, there is a thread running through these. There's definitely a linkage, and each are independent, but you can see the potential for some of you in the room to get involved across 2, 3, or maybe even all 4 of these in some shape or form. SEUPB Development and Transition is an exciting fund, about 25 million euros, I think, from memory. I looked at the car there, and I've said this, and I should have brought my notes up. Innovation Challenge Fund is circa around 65 million euros. 2.3 is 50 million euros, and 2.4 I can't remember, but so apologies if you're interested in 2.4, but we can certainly find that out. I think 30 million, there we go. So hopefully that adds up to 170 million for anybody that's good with maths. But the core of this, socioeconomic regeneration and transformation, and that's never been more important. We're in an age of disruption, an age of change in all sorts of ways, geopolitically, demographically, and technology. And certainly that has formed the theme of the discussions with Ian and Graeme. And there's a very strong digital theme to the areas that we're thinking about going forward. And that's something I think that will come across in some of the presentations you're about to see. That's not to say that is the be-all and end-all. I'm an engineer, I'm a manufacturer at heart, so I would love to see I4.0 and that sort of digitization of manufacturing all come forward. There's a whole pile of opportunities there, both in terms of growing wages and in giving better working conditions and a balance to those working conditions. That's something, again, that we've talked about in the conversations we've had over the last number of months, how we can improve the general working conditions and what good work maybe actually looks like for our workforce and those that are looking to come into the workforce. So I'm not going to stay here any longer. I will pick up at the end with Miriam around the Q&A. But I'm going to ask Ian now if you'd come forward and present, and then Graeme, you just pick up on the back of that, please. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Mark. And just before I start, I have 2 apologies to make. First of all, I was told when you're doing your PowerPoint, don't do any sexy slides or anything like that. Just keep it bland. It is bland, I can assure you. But the message, concentrate on the words, that's far more important. The other thing I was told was that you have about 10 minutes, so lock the doors, you're here, no one's getting out. First of all, to introduce myself, my name is Ian McKenna, and I head up, you were talking about shortening the title of the department. The Minister has made great play, Minister Harris and Minister Collins both made great play about having the longest title in the Irish government. But very often he just summarises as the Minister for Talent. And in many respects, that's what it is about. Whether it's further higher education, whether it's research, innovation or science, it can all be encapsulated within that core concept of talent, the promotion of talent, and how to reach into groups that may feel that they haven't the opportunity to access talent. So I'm just very much given kind of an Irish government perspective, but in doing that, I just want to preface my comments by saying it's been a pleasure working with Graeme and also with Richard from the Department for the Economy or for Economy? For Economy, right. I inserted incorrect there. But I just want to thank them very much for the collaborative process we've been through, and just to acknowledge that certainly for both jurisdictions, and I do find it strange talking about jurisdictions, particularly when you talk about skills. But for both jurisdictions, it has been very productive and it's been very positive. And the eye has been on the goal about maximising the impact of this €50 million and leveraging other strands within the Peace Plus programme that can perhaps help us build sustainable networks. In elaborating on just this whole idea about the geographical context, I was very struck by the map that's within Peace Plus documentation, because it breaks out the 6 counties and it breaks them down into district councils and so on. And yet it's almost like there's just one colour for the 6 border counties. And the risk is in all of that, it masks differences that exist, that there are issues in Donegal that would not be common to Monaghan, would not be common to Louth, and vice versa. I think it's important to realise that each one of those, as we talk about developing investment areas and the sub-regional areas, it's very important to bear in mind that there are unique dimensions to the 6 border counties. It's not one generic mix that is just along there. And the reason I have the map of Ireland there is that there's a wealth of experience on both sides of the border. And there's a wealth of experience in terms of some of the programmes that we have had in place in the Republic that may be focused around disadvantaged communities in Limerick, Galway, Cork, Dublin, wherever. And it's very important that we max and leverage the learning that has come from those programmes in terms of developing a comprehensive response in terms of the Peace Plus programme. And I'm just anxious that we don't lose sight of that opportunity. So if we're looking at partnerships, and if we're looking at where can we reach into, why not talk to colleagues down in Cork? Why not talk to colleagues that are dealing with perhaps rural disadvantage in County Kerry or County Clare? So there are opportunities there. And I suppose in some respects that's a particular plea that I have, is not to ignore some of the learning that has taken place within various schemes that have been delivered within the wider Republic. Look, just going through what the objectives of all of this, emerging skills gaps, we're all familiar with these. And I'm just going to brush through that slide because Mark has alluded to the OECD review, which came out just a few weeks ago. And it was just interesting, some of the key messages that were coming through on that. And just the skills and labour market research, which is attached within SOLAS. This was something they identified particularly in Ireland. 370,000 people in Ireland in occupations at high risk of automation, a further 600,000 at medium risk. These are huge figures. Ireland at the moment, its unemployment is about 3.6%. We're at full employment. And yet, and we're thinking, Jesus, that's great, look at all the tax credits, all of that sort of stuff. But yet, that risk is hanging like a black cloud. Now, it's not to dampen, the positivity around the economy and stuff like that, but it's just there. And we need to be alert to it. And we need to develop responses to that. Just further elaboration. Even though we do well on the skills and all in terms of measurement of digital skills and so on, and this is the EU measurement, you might recall the EU, anyway, but moving quickly along, you can just see there that only 30% have less than basic. That's a serious stat. We need to look at how do we address data literacy. How do we address the capacity to manage information? Coming up here, I because I was working on Peace 4 previously, I knew how to get to Armagh. Going on to Dungannon, go on to Google, sort it out. And, got to the junction, one wrong turn, but eventually got here and was grand. All the time, the technology is guiding you. It's fine. I'm relatively familiar with it. But people that aren't, the challenges that they now face to address that, online banking, all of those sort of issues. Just looking at as well some of the again, messages, skills imbalance. We talk about, we have a great transition from the Leaving Cert into higher education. But the message here is the imbalances that will arise from that. It's pointless having everybody gifted in IT and medicine and legal studies if the economy, if the SMEs, if the drivers of the economy are looking for other skills. We need to make sure that there's a very good balance between the skills that are sought, including the emerging skills, along with the needs of the economy. Now, that's not to displace the value of higher education in terms of social and personal development. It's not to displace those, but it's just to say we need to be alert to those. And you spoke about working conditions, Mark, and so on, and it was just interesting that there's a particular reference to the management skills within SMEs and how to grow those and make sure that they encourage the workforce. They're sympathetic, they're empathetic towards the workforce and looking to enhance their opportunities and their provisions. When I just, this is my last slide, my last bland slide, because when you go into Graeme's, there's nice colours and everything like that, so I'm really at a disadvantage here. But the ambition, when I say I have, the ambition of the Irish government for Peace Plus, this is a great opportunity. This is the first time that skills has figured in a Peace Plus programme in such a substantive way. And the ambition is, first of all, to change a minimum. Now, it talks about 10,000 and then there's wiggle room and all, but we're looking at a minimum of 8,000 people, north and south, that this has had a positive impact on their lives in terms of whether we talk about upskilling, reskilling, whatever, but giving 8,000 people a real sense that what people have been through in terms of peace process, in terms of economic disasters, north and south, recoveries, all of these other issues. This has to mean something to people. And that's part of the ambition, that a minimum of 8,000 people will be impacted positively by this particular action. The other element is that there's a wealth of experience on both sides of the border. And this is why when we talk about jurisdictions, I find it funny. Because skills needs, whether we're talking about IT skills, whether it's cybersecurity, STEM, whatever, it's the same. But yet, the reality is there's a political structure here, and within those political structures, within those governmental structures, there's a wealth of experience that has been built up. And it's very important that we share and learn best practice from both on both sides of the border. And there's institutions there that have delivered, and a lot of it has been under the radar. It doesn't get the headlights. It doesn't get, big shiny lights and all the sort of stuff. But it has been there all the time. Between the regional colleges, between the ETBs, between the higher education institutions. I'm working on a project at the moment in the Northwest where you see a wealth of experience being shared across the border. And all of it is geared towards people and impacting positively there. There's strengths within each of the sub-regions. Speaking to those different needs, there's strengths within each of those regions. Let's leverage and let's max this. But let's do it in a sustainable way. And Peace Plus, we don't know what's going to happen after 2027. But if everything wraps up and we say, right, no money, walk away from it, that's not going to be of benefit, long-term sustainable benefit. So that's where we need to see sustainable networks and connections that have been built up on a cross-border and cross-community basis. But above all of that, we also need to recognise the mobility of the workforce. I was just talking to someone there earlier on that in Dundalk IT, something like 15% of their workforce come from the north down south, and vice versa. I'm sure within other institutions. In the Northwest, they talk about a job in Derry, Londonderry, is as valuable to Letterkenny as it is to Derry Londonderry. And we need to recognise the potential and the impact of that. So the mobility of the workforce is there. And if the mobility of the workforce is there, the skills responses need to be shared and be common across both sides. You can unlock the door now. I'm finished. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. As Mark says, I'm Graeme Wilkinson. I'm the Director of Skills in the Department for the Economy. And I think Ian's really captured a lot of what I've got to say, so this will not take 10 minutes yet. No, we're absolutely delighted that we now have a measure within PEACEPLUS focused on skills. As many as you will know, we have our new skills strategy, and we're very keen to make sure that we can progress some of the objectives that we have within it. I've really enjoyed working with Ian and Anita over the period as well. It's been a lot of fun. I know you might not fully understand that, but we've really enjoyed working with you, Ian, and it's been great to get to this stage. It's been a lot of hard work, I have to say, being a new measure on skills. There's been a lot of cut and thrust and working with Mark and Miriam. We've had a lot of backwards and forwards, but I think it has been really worthwhile in getting a shared understanding of what we're trying to achieve through the measure. So thank you for that. So what I was going to do is do a quick nip over the sticks in terms of our policy perspective in Northern Ireland, just to give you a little bit of a flavour of what we anticipate coming through the various concept notes. So some of the key documents for us. The Programme for Government, as some of you will know, was issued in 2021 in draft for consultation. And you'll see from that document the skills features very heavily within it as an enabler for trying to achieve some of the outcomes that everybody achieves their full potential. I think that's really important for us to consider what we can achieve through this skills dimension. Also, our 10x vision within our department that focuses on 3 key pillars around innovation, inclusion and sustainability. So from a departmental perspective, that's really important that we focus on that. And I would underline the whole area of inclusion. It's really important for us, and I've heard from the Biden visit whenever he talked about everybody sharing in the prosperity. So that is important for us to consider. How do we make sure that everybody is included in our economic growth? And as well as that, we have our skills strategy, not included in this slide, but I'm sure you've all read it from cover to cover. I'll say a little bit about what's included within it. Some of the challenges that we face, and it was interesting, Ian, just listening to your presentation, they're very similar challenges that we have in the north here. So pay, whenever you look at any league table, Northern Ireland is at the bottom of the pay league table. So we've really struggled with poor pay. And we want to see that addressed so everybody has the opportunity to move up that league table. A little caveat though, this was taken a while ago. So the first quarter of this year, our pay increased by 9%. So the highest wage growth anywhere in the UK. So there's a glimmer of light there, and that things are starting to improve slightly. Also, in-work progression has been bedeviled us for decades. Where it seems to be individuals get a qualification, they get a job, and it's a job for life. What we want to see is more in-work progression, and absolutely the best way to do that is getting yourself a qualification, learning a new skill to allow you to progress in work, and that's something that we want to see encouraged. Productivity, again, a big challenge for us in the north here. We look over our colleagues in the south who are 40 percentage points ahead of us in terms of productivity. So I think the point that Ian was making earlier on is a good one. What's the learning? Is there something that we can learn as to how we can actually improve our productivity in Northern Ireland here? Skills for me is a key element of that. Improving productivity is about getting more out of the labour that we have within our labour market. A little bit of context. So one of the big worries for me, and this is why I have so much grey hair, is whenever you look at the demography of Northern Ireland, so the labour supply issue isn't going to change over the next 10 years. We're not going to getting new additions coming into the workforce. It's a huge challenge for us, and it really just shines a light on actually getting more out of the people that we have within the workforce. How can we do more with less, if you want to think about it in that way. So demography is not on our side. We have challenges around the labour supply, and whenever you talk to any businesses out there, it is labour supply is the single biggest issue that they want to talk about. I would say making a distinction between labour supply and skills is a really important distinction to make. But whenever you talk to businesses, labour supply is a huge issue. You'll also see here a little bit of a slide on the various skills levels. And again, as Ian says, those entry-level jobs are reducing. There are fewer and fewer entry-level jobs coming through. And to me, there's a big risk in relation to economic inactivity. And the best way to address that is providing those people who would ordinarily go to those entry-level jobs, giving them new skills to allow them to get onto that pathway. Technical and vocational levels 3 to 5, the missing middle, as I call it. Again, the biggest issue within our skills strategy has been addressing that missing middle. And one of the things that we want to do from a policy perspective is to introduce all age and public sector apprenticeships to try and address that missing middle. At level 6, again, probably an undersupply that we have at those higher levels, but absolutely a focus on STEM. Whenever you look at any of our growth sectors, they're all STEM hungry. So we have all of these industries that are looking for the same type of people. And again, that's a focus within our skill strategy, is trying to address that. So just a little bit about our strategy. If you haven't read it, this is it on a page. So trying to simplify it down. So addressing the skills imbalance is our top priority. Making sure that we have a more aligned pipeline, trying to address the points that I've just made around the entry level, mid-level qualifications and at graduate level as well. One of the big challenges is around economic inactivity. Northern Ireland has the highest rate anywhere in the UK or Ireland, around 28%. And again, that's a real focus for us. How do we address some of the barriers that individuals face in actually entering the labour market? And we do see big opportunities to try and address this. Certainly through this PEACEPLUS measure, I think that needs to be a real focus. Addressing the culture of lifelong learning, we have the worst participation rates again anywhere in the UK and Ireland, around 17%. Whenever we started the skills strategy, it was around 18%, and I had ambitions of getting up to 25, or even trying to get to the OECD average, which is around 30%. But unfortunately, it has now slipped back to 17%. So culturally, there's a big issue. How do we nudge people into learning and actually loving to make themselves better and improving the skill sets that we have? So that's a big issue for us. Digital skills as well. We want to see a digital spine in our education system right through from primary school right through to PhD. Again, Ian has talked about artificial intelligence and how it's disrupting all of our industries. If we don't address that, that is going to scar our economy going forward, and something that we're working very closely with the Department of Education on to try and make sure that we're producing economically relevant qualifications for individuals who are entering the workforce. So that digital spine is absolutely critical, and you'll see that within this measure. We're very focused on making sure that we're providing individuals with those digital skills. Just 2 points on the enablers. Policy cohesion and making sure that we have strong relationships in place, and we now have a new skills council all appointed now, and that's really important in making sure that we have that policy cohesion going forward and much more joined up. And again, I think there's learning from Ireland in terms of what they have done, and building those relationships between business, education and government. That's really important, and I think there's an opportunity through this measure to build those relationships so we are much more joined up and we can share the learning, as Ian has said. And the other just point to mention is our investment in our skills system. I look enviously at the funds that Ian has at his disposal, and actually whenever you look at the disinvestment that there's been, not just in the public sector but also in the private sector, generally around a 25% reduction over the last 10 years, and that's something that we need to try and redress. I think the best thing to do is by demonstrating what skills can do to improve our economic performance, and hopefully whenever we get a new executive up and running, that skills will be a really important part of the new programme for government. So finally from me, I just wanted to highlight a few of the things that I believe are really important in terms of this measure. I think inclusion is important around making sure that everybody has the opportunity who might not necessarily have gone to a college or gone to university. How can we give them the opportunities to actually upskill themselves to take the opportunity in terms of employment coming forward? Also, lifelong learning. Maybe people who have barriers around English, it maybe isn't their first language. I think that's something that would be important to consider. But also digital skills, and I've talked a little bit about that as well. I think that's really important in terms of what the opportunity that this measure provides. So I'm excited about it. I think there's great opportunity here. I think the relationships are a key part of that, and the shared learning is an essential element to it. And we're really excited to see the concept notes coming forward and seeing all of the ideas that you all have. So thank you very much.
Hey, good morning, everybody. First of all, just to say I'm really delighted to be looking after this area, which is one that I have a lot of interest in, and it's great to see so many familiar faces, and I look forward to meeting many more of you over the next weeks and months. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring you through kind of an overview of what 2.3 is about and what we want to achieve. And then I'm going to bring you through the concept note and talk to you about what the pre-development support process involves. Okay, so in terms of what this objective wishes to achieve, it is to improve equal access to inclusive and quality services in education, training, lifelong learning through developing accessible infrastructure, including fostering resilience for distance and online education and training. So we want that to address existing and emerging skills gaps. We want to lead to an equal access to inclusive and quality services, and as our colleagues have emphasised, really increase cross-border labour mobility. What we hope and believe that will result in is the development of a flourishing programme area workforce with better skills aligned to existing and future growth sectors, which are in line with public policy. Okay, so we achieve that by supporting area-based approaches designed to address evidence skills gaps as detailed in the national and sub-regional skills strategies, as Graeme and Ian have outlined there. And I'm sure everybody here has, and the nature of work you're in, is familiar with those strategies such as 10X and the National Skills Strategy. But if you aren't, I can't emphasise enough how much you need to be as you move through this process. It's so important. The objectives should support the goals of increased productivity and employment and higher levels of cross-border labour mobility. And we are really looking to build on best practice area-based models of skills development. So in terms of how that will be achieved, PEACEPLUS is a cross-border programme, and that's what it's about. It's about cross-border collaboration. And in managing that process, we hope we will reduce any duplication that there might be between education and training provision across the programme area. But through collaboration, that we will better address existing and emerging skills gaps and the opportunities for reskilling. And just always have kind of keeping that emphasis that this programme is investment to result in higher productivity, more employability and increased levels of cross-border mobility in terms of training, education and, very importantly, employment. Okay, so I will come to the fact that we hope to support 5 skills-based strategies through this investment, and I'm looking at the sheer volume and number of people in the room, and we are expecting a consortium-based approach. That's what these programmes are about. They're rooted in partnership. So we are expecting you to work together. In terms of who is eligible to apply, it's a very broad range. So everybody from local authorities, regional local development agencies, chambers of commerce, universities, FEs, higher education, research, NGOs, the community and voluntary sector, sectoral agencies, public organisations who would have an interest in this area, and where appropriate, the private sector, small to medium enterprises. That's not an exhaustive list, and it will just depend on the nature of your particular project, but it's a very broad spectrum in terms of who can participate. As Mark has outlined, there is €50 million allocated for this particular investment area. 40 million of that is coming from the RDF and 10 million from our accountable governments, the two governments. Importantly, 100% of project costs are eligible. Okay, and there will be more information about this within the call document itself. So, in terms of the focus, what this investment will do, it will support the provision of strategic cross-border skills partnerships in education, higher education institutions, in key disciplines, in sectors such as ICT, digital, STEM, the green economy, entrepreneurship, leadership, management, etc. Again, that is not an exhaustive list. These are kind of sub-regional programme skills strategy, and it is up to you to decide what the specific sectoral needs are within your area and demonstrate a need for those. We want to promote the uptake of apprenticeships where we can in key areas such as ICT, support the establishment of cross-border structures, again, focusing on best practice, and I think Ian outlined that, best practice in our own programme area, in other parts of Ireland, in other parts of Europe, and there's certainly plenty to learn from. So we are looking for you. It's a real opportunity to do and bring forward some of that learning and incorporate it. We also, again, and I think Graeme mentioned this, PEACEPLUS is all about peace and prosperity. We really want to look at reducing those barriers to participation. You'll see more information about that in the call document that comes out. But, you know, looking at those who are employed and upskilling, but also looking where we can to increase the percentage of people who are economically active. And particularly looking at those employment sectors that are at risk of change and automation changes specifically. Okay. So in terms of the kind of scope and range of actions, I suppose just importantly to remember that what we're looking for here are area-based skills strategies. So the development of cross-community, cross-border strategies aimed at risk reduction to key employment sectors specific to your target area, which in that case are subject to job displacement through technological development, including the development of innovation and entrepreneurship in the programme area. We're looking for clusters, key clusters for those skills gaps specific to target geographical areas. And those schemes will enable area-based cross-community and cross-border clusters to respond to the needs that you have identified, which include skilling and upskilling. Okay. So those key actions will be complemented by a range of activities, which include the development of cross-border partnerships by higher and further education organisations, which will minimise and reduce kind of duplication of resources. In some cases, that might lead to the development and delivery of joint educational programmes administered by cross-border partnerships, ensuring these align with evidence-based education approaches which will address recognised skills gaps and requirements. Okay, again, build in kind of and ensure in the context of peace and prosperity, be mindful of incorporating measures that will reduce barriers such as language, access, physical access. We want to see that. So programmes should be designed to improve the working conditions and employment prospects of minority groups. And in the context of this programme's working conditions are defined as the organisations of work, training, skills and employability. So Peace Plus is a result-orientated programme. So result and output indicators have been established for all the 22 investment areas which are included in the programme. For 2.3, those, in terms of the output indicators, they are 5 strategies and action plans jointly developed. And the corresponding result indicator is 5 joint strategies and action plans taken up by organisations. 10,000 participations in joint training schemes, and then the corresponding result indicator is 8,000 completions of those joint training schemes. You can see we've incorporated a level of attrition there. Okay, so in terms of delivering impact objectives, again, I think Graeme in particular at the end there was focusing on that idea of enabling and growing participation in lifelong learning and continuous skills enhancement, enhancing basic digital and high-tech skills, particularly in those sectors where we are at risk of automation, supporting inclusive practices in skills program design and delivery, in terms of universal design principles, and empowering marginalised and underrepresented groups to participate in such programs. Okay, so there will be some more information in terms of the programme itself included in the concept note, but I would really encourage you as we move forward into talking about that, these slides will all be available online on the website, as will the presentations, as will the corresponding strategies. Really do familiarise yourselves with those before you. I know sometimes people, and I suppose I've looked at 80 concept notes now, people are so excited about their own particular project, they do at times forget to go back and actually look and ensure how and appreciate how this might align. So in terms of the pre-development support and concept note itself, it's, I think, a really, really great, this is my 3rd programme, and I really do think that the pre-development support is a fantastic addition to the programme and your project development process. What it allows you to do is to give us some information about your idea and get feedback at that at a very initial stage. And I don't know a group who's come forward who hasn't found that to be beneficial on some level. In many cases, we are able to give you advice in terms of how your idea might be strengthened. I know I've spoken to a number of people today, and I did emphasise we are looking for consortium-based approaches. We want to avoid duplication. Where we see an opportunity for you to work with others within your area, we will highlight, with your permission and theirs, we will highlight the opportunity for joint working if we see it. So it's proven to be in some of the other investment areas we've looked after, that's proven to be very, very effective. And ultimately, that's what SEUPB and these programmes and Peace Plus is about. It's about partnership working. You will learn early on if this is the investment area for you, if 2.3 is where you should be. In some cases, in some of the other areas I'm looking after, if it's not, there may be another programme across the other 21 investment areas where you are more suited, and we will highlight and signpost you towards that. We will do what we can in terms of giving you kind of, one-to-one advice in terms of how to move forward and strengthen your particular proposal. Now, the good news at this stage is that it's a very kind of concise process. We're mindful of your time. So, I think it's fairly reasonable in terms of the amount of time it will take you to complete this. The concept note and the format it builds out from the structure of what will be a full application form. It contains some, but not all of the questions that will be in that full application. And on that base, it helps you kind of start to build the foundations of what your project will look like when you come forward to doing that. But I want to emphasize that it's not a formal application. It's not, and it will not be scored. So it is literally a really good opportunity to kind of test your ideas and gain initial feedback on those. So in terms of how to approach completing your concept note, It's a very uncomplicated form. It's 3 pages, and after that, you'll see at the back of the 3 pages, we have included guidance notes which are specific to this particular area. So it gives you an opportunity to provide a high-level overview of what your project is. There are 6 questions, and we're hoping that you will stick to 300 to 500 words within each one of those. I would ask you to do that because it's easier for me, and particularly when you're dealing with a quantity of these, it's easy for me to assimilate and get to the kind of nub of your idea if it's quite concisely presented. So advice is available pre and post completion of that. So in some of the other areas, people have spoken to me before they have decided or started the work to fill and complete the concept form. And I think that works well. I'm very, very happy to do that and speak to anyone within this call who would like to do that. We would ask, there is a bit of time, we would ask you to complete and return your concept note to me no later than the 3rd of August, and my email address will be on the slide deck here. So just very quickly to give you an overview of what the questions are. The first is it's an overview of your project, asking you to outline what the need is. And this, in my view, is important now and within a full application. In terms of need, there's obviously an established need, and we've been through that this morning in terms of skills development, and we're aware of that. That's why this is included in the PEACEPLUS programme. So the need here is really, what is the need for your specific project, your sub-regional kind of approach to skills development? So that's what we're really interested to learn about here. Very important, as I've alluded to make sure that your idea, however strong that is and however relevant it is to your area, it must align with what the objectives of the PEACEPLUS programme generally, what 2.3 specifically are. It must align, and it must align with the skills context, strategic context in Ireland and Northern Ireland. Okay. So supported projects should maximise cross-border partnerships to avoid duplications. I've mentioned that, and just in terms of taking as much opportunity to collaborate and work together as you can. Okay. So the second question is about how your project will contribute to the result and output indicators established for this area. So you'll note there are 5 area-based skills strategies, our output indicator, and 10,000 participations in jointly developed schemes is the result indicator. What we're looking for here is for you to outline what contribution your consortium will make to achieving those programme area level indicators. So how many participations will there be, and how many strategies and action plans will be developed? Okay. The next question relates to the cross-community and cross-border dimension and strength of your project. So first of all, these are sub-regional action plans. So we're looking for you to clearly outline what is your target geographical area, and also how your project is cross-border. So has it been jointly developed? Will it be jointly delivered? Will it be open to people from both Northern Ireland and the border counties of Ireland as well? Very important to emphasise the cross-border dimension, but also to remember to emphasise and highlight the cross-community dimensions and the benefits and the contribution to a more peaceful and prosperous society as well. So the last thing we would want to do is duplicate or displace existing provision. So we'll be looking for you to outline how you've considered that, how your project is different, how it complements other interventions in the area and doesn't duplicate or displace them. Have you considered that situation fully? Have you strategies in place to avoid or mitigate any potential for that? Okay. Question 5 is all about the proposed team, the partnership and the implementing arrangements. So very interested, as we say, the cross-community, the cross-border formation of your projects and your partnerships is very, very important to us. We will need some information in terms of the team that will lead and manage that project. Are they suitably qualified? What experience do they have in skills generally, in European programmes specifically? Have the partners worked together in partnership before? Have they a good track record of working together? You know, what level of technical support you may need to incorporate within your project? And have you considered the risks that may impact on your ability to deliver the project in full? So, you know, important that you outline all of that. Value for money is really important now more than ever. It is a scored criterion within a full application. So it's very important that, you know, you demonstrate to us that you've really considered the costs, that everything has been done in terms of the most economically careful approach has been adopted in terms of staff positions, are there the appropriate grade, tendering, etc. We do not expect a full budget at this stage, but we do want to kind of carefully consider kind of overview of what your project is and the assumptions that you've applied to generate that. Cost is just, well, value for money is not just about cost, it's also about impact. So we want you to outline to us how your project will deliver value for money in terms of impact, long-term outcomes, etc. as well. We do encourage lead partners to really consider at this stage what it is. And I know we're speaking in a room where there are a lot of very experienced lead partners, but it's important that you, if your organisation is considering leading a project, that you know, fully consider what the responsibilities of undertaking a project, which, you know, these are high-level projects in terms of scale and financial the financial associated with them as well. So in terms of the, you know, what the lead partner is responsible for, it is the coordination of the entire process from submitting the application. They assume responsibility for the smooth implementation of the entire project. They coordinate all partners and activities. They're responsible for the financial management of the project, budgetary control, claims, preparation and provision, cash flow, etc., and ensuring that the result and output indicators are met and, you know, the project's on course to meet its targets. Reporting, which is considerable in any project, but very important from a European point of view as well. They're responsible for communicating, promoting, marketing that project, delivering any training that's necessary, and then ensuring that all policies and procedures are in place in terms of what is necessary to deliver that project. So it's short, I'm probably putting absolutely everybody off now, but just important that you really think through that process. Just other things to bear in mind, you know, I do think this is a really good time. We have a lead up, as Mark says, this is, you know, the programme and the cause are imminent, but we still have time to really properly consider and work through what could, you know, the strongest projects that we can. We'd encourage you to be ambitious but realistic. Think about the finance and managing the cash flows of what will be, as we say, very high level projects moving forward. So just to give you just an overview of the process moving forward. So the concept note is available now online, so you will be able to print that off from today. And as I say, if you want to speak to me in advance of starting to work through and develop that, you absolutely can. But you must make sure that it is with me by the 3rd of August. We will provide, now I'm just going to say that our intention is always to come back within 15 working days, and we will ensure that we have some contact with you there. We will, depending on just the volume we receive, we will do our best to work within that time frame, and hoping that that will be possible as you have all decided to work together and collaborate. So I would again encourage you to do that, but we will give you as much support as we can at this stage, and I think it's good for you. It's also very good for us as an organisation, so we are very happy to participate in that process and help you as much as we can. There will, as Mark has outlined, all of this is very imminent, but there will be much more information available once this call goes live in terms of the programme rules, the manuals, the guide, and a more detailed call for applications. But please be assured you do have enough information, I think, at this stage within the concept note guidance and within the slide deck, which you can get on the website. There's enough information for you there to start building up your project. Okay? No?
Thank you very much, Miriam, and thank you, Ian and Graeme as well. Our fantastic comms guys have a couple of mics there, open mics here for the Q&A session here, which will kick off momentarily. Please just give your name and organisation you're representing here, and all four of us, primarily Miriam,